I buried that ring with my wife. So how was it suddenly on my flatmate's finger? I never thought I'd let anyone move into that flat again. Not after losing Clara, my wife. Everything but after 2 years of grief and silence that echoed too loudly through the halls. I gave in to the suggestion from a well-meaning friend and posted an ad for a flatmate. Her name was Ava. She had this quiet calm to her, the kind of person who didn't speak unless necessary, who made tea without asking and always left one for me on the counter. She never pried, never asked about the photos of Clara still up on the wall, or why I kept the second bedroom exactly as it had been. She just existed, like a gentle shadow slipping through the flat, careful and soft. At first I thought it was a mistake. I wasn't ready for someone else's presence, especially not a woman with green eyes, just a shade off Clara's, or the way she hummed old Motown songs when she cooked. But Ava was kind, respectful, and somehow never intrusive. She didn't try to fix me, and that felt like the greatest kindness of all. Days became weeks, and she slipped seamlessly into the rhythm of my grief, never disrupting it, but never letting it rot either. I started to notice her more. The way she curled up with books on rainy nights, how she talked to her plants like old friends, how she always remembered to buy milk when I forgot. But it was a Tuesday night that broke everything. I came home late from work, tired and soaked from the rain, and as I stepped into the kitchen, I saw her there standing by the sink, back turned, washing dishes with her sleeves rolled up. But what caught my eye wasn't her or the way her hair was falling out of its bun. It was the gold band on her finger, Clara's wedding ring. My heart stopped. I buried that ring with Clara. I'd slipped it off her lifeless hand in the hospital, held it against my lips one last time, and placed it on her finger before they closed the casket. My legs moved before my brain caught up. "Where did you get that?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. But she turned around slowly, her expression unreadable. Didn't seem startled at all. "We weren't supposed to see this yet," she said quietly, taking the ring off and placing it gently on the counter between us. "I was going to tell you, just didn't know how." My chest tightened. "Tell me what?" She looked down, almost ashamed, and for a long moment, she didn't speak. Then she walked past me, down the hallway, and returned with a faded envelope. My name was on it. The handwriting was Clara's. My hands shook as I opened it, and what I read stole the breath from my lungs. It was a letter dated 2 weeks. Before Clara's death, she'd written about her illness, the things she knew I couldn't handle, and the guilt she carried for knowing how much pain she was about to leave me in. But the last part of the letter, those were the words that collapsed my world. "If you ever see this letter, it means Ava came. I asked her to. She was the only person I trusted to look after you after I was gone. She's my half-sister, Jack. We shared a father, and though we only met a few years ago, I loved her like blood. I asked her to be near you when I couldn't. Anymore? Please don't push her away. She's been through loss too, and she knows more about love than most people ever will." My knees buckled. Ava, her eyes that felt familiar, her silence that wasn't empty, it was knowing. She'd come into my life not by chance, but by Clara's last act of love. I looked at her then, really looked, and saw the grief she carried too. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, and her voice broke as she whispered, "Because you weren't ready to hear it. And I didn't come to take her place. I came because she asked me to, and because, over time, I wanted to." We sat in silence that night, the letter between us, the ring glinting softly under the kitchen lights. It was the first time in years I cried and didn't feel ashamed. In the weeks that followed, nothing was forced. We talked, we shared stories about Clara. Ava showed me photos of them together, moments I never knew Clara had, smiles I'd never seen. It was strange and comforting and painful and beautiful, all at once. I stopped keeping Clara's room like a shrine. I opened the windows, I let the light in, and Ava stayed not as a replacement, but as a new chapter. One Clara had gently written into my life before she left. One morning, as we stood on the balcony watching the fog roll across the rooftops, Ava slipped the ring into my hand. "You should keep it," she said, but I shook my head. "No, I told her softly. She gave it to you, and in some strange, poetic way. I think that's what Clara had wanted all along, not for me to move on, but to move forward with someone who understood the depth of love, the silence of grief, and the beauty of being chosen even after goodbye.